Okay, for this episode of the Back Channel, let's talk about data rooms. It's kind of fun for me to talk about data rooms because in almost every workshop I give, I actually do a little preamble that references advice around data rooms. It's because I show these two different pieces of advice given by two credible VCs, Andrea Funston at RTP Ventures and Mark Suster at Upfront Ventures, and how they have very opposite pieces of advice around data rooms. We dive into it and why I describe it, but because I talk about it so often, I figured I'd do a full back channel episode on data rooms, right? A lot of founders have heard the term data room. They conceptually know what it is, but they don't exactly know what they should include in a data room. Are there very specific things all data rooms have to have? Well, I like to describe what a data room is in much more baseline principles points of view so that you can decide what goes into your data room. Data rooms for different companies at different stages are all very different. It turns out there is some overlap, but it's because of answering the question that is the baseline principle that I want you to hold on to. So, what is a data room? A data room is a collection of assets and information that helps a VC validate the story that you tell in your pitch. Essentially, it's a bunch of materials that help them do diligence to confirm the things that they've said and the ideas that they have about how good your company is. So if you say, we have a great team, well, maybe in your data room, you'd include CVs, you'd include articles about your team members and how excellent they are, how excellent you are. If you said, our traction has been tripling every month, well, maybe you would show screenshots or even give access to your analytics platform to show that that's actually happening. On a more basic level, when we think about the common elements of almost all data rooms, if you're representing yourself as a startup in good standing, well, then you might have your incorporation docs, your legal docs, your cap table that describe who you are, what your company is, and when it got started. Now, the difference between one startup and another startup is that there might be different parts of your story that you need to validate, that you need to give data about in your data room. So instead of looking at a list of all the things that data rooms have, maybe start by thinking about what you represent and what sort of diligence you'd like to accelerate for any VC that has gotten to the stage to want to invest in you, which is a good segue into when you should share data rooms. Okay, so I've actually struggled with focus my entire life, which might be surprising to some people because I got good grades, went to good schools, got good jobs. But really, I was able to get that far in spite of myself. It's been a struggle all my life, and that struggle really came to a head once I became an entrepreneur. At that point, there was too much going on. I couldn't overpower my lack of focus. So I tried a bunch of things, planning apps, coaching, but nothing really made a dent. And then I started hearing about this special productivity drink, Magic Mind, and was super skeptical. Honestly, it wasn't until a friend gifted me some that I became a believer. When you take a little bit of this stuff, it's hard to describe, but there's like this feeling of focus that just washes over you, where all the things that normally distract you no longer do. And honestly, it's been a game changer for me. So I'm really excited because Magic Mind is sponsoring this podcast and offering up to 50% off your subscription if you sign up within 10 days of this airing. All you have to do is go to magicmind.co/funded or use funded as your promo code when you're checking out. Hope you guys try it out and that you like it as much as I do. Now, this is actually the point that was debated between Andrea Funston's tweet and Mark Suster's blog post, and that is when you should share a data room. For me, I believe that data rooms are one of the final gates for a VC to see before they actually do a deal. It's not necessarily something that they need to see early on. Early on is about getting VCs interested in learning more. And I really believe in this idea that VCs do deals, make investments based on emotions, and end up saying no based on data. So I would highly recommend you go and not share a data room until you feel like these are funds that are actually interested in digging in. So how should you share a data room? I definitely think data rooms should be shared not as a zipped up collection of documents that you email over to someone, but instead via a document sharing tool where you can track access, you can see what people are looking at, and you can change data on the back end. Of course, you can just do this with a Google Drive link, but it is kind of nice to be able to understand what version of a data room someone has seen versus another person, when you need to update it, and the ability to change access via people, as in these people get access to the data room, these people also get access to the data room, but now you want to take away access from one but not the other. It's very hard to do with a generic Google Drive link, but not so hard to do with something like DocSend or Box. So definitely share via something that you control. I've seen some things get shared in inappropriate ways. And honestly, once a fund has actually decided not to do a deal, there's no reason why they need access to your data. So let's have the opportunity to turn off their access to your data room. Okay. And then last but not least, just a disclaimer, we do not need to convince anyone to do a deal based on fake data. So whenever you put something in a data room, make sure that it's an honest representation of what you are. I am okay with pushing things and dressing things up and making it look as good as possible, but fake data, falsified information, etc., is crossing the line and will always come back to haunt you. Okay. So that's my outline on data rooms. It is basically a set of data, a set of files, a set of information that help VCs do the diligence they need to confirm their existing excitement about doing your deal. So go set up your data room, set it up early. You can do it initially with a bunch of the content that you already have around your company and then incrementally add onto it as people ask more questions. But getting started early will put you ahead of the game and reduce a lot of the stress that you'll be running into later when you get more VCs interested. All right, that's this episode of the Back Channel on data rooms. Good luck, Godspeed, and we'll catch you next time.